So the reason this works is because the only stable configuration is when the center of mass is directly below the point it's hanging from. If we assume that all of the mass, because remember the center of mass is the point where we can treat it like all of the mass in the object is sitting right at the center of mass. And so if all the mass is right here, this whole thing basically just becomes a pendulum. And we have, just like we had our massless strings with the pendulum, you just ignore all the mass in between here, but there's obviously still soon going to be some tension holding all of the mass right at the center of mass up to the point that it's hanging from. So we get a tension force here. And then, of course, gravity goes straight down. And if it's going to be at rest, all of the forces need to be balanced out. And so the only way to cancel a force the only way a force going straight down, gravity, can cancel something out, is if that force is going straight up, like our tension is here. Now, instead, let's say we're off center. Well, if I release it from here, it wants to swing back. And the reason for that is because our tension is still going to be pointing towards the pivot point, but our force of gravity is going to be going down. And so now you can see if we add our net force together, our y components can still cancel each other up. There's going to be some leftover x components. There will be a net force going to the left, which is going to cause our object to want to swing to the left. If we go to the right, the opposite thing happens. The only place where it can be hanging where there's not a net force to the left or the right is either straight down or straight up. You actually could balance it if it was going straight up as well, but this one is extremely delicate, and if it goes even just a little bit out of place, it'll swing back down to the bottom. And so not only can we have a shortcut here for seeing how center of mass works, we also have an example of those stable and unstable equilibria we talked about with our potential energy graphs. This is a stable equilibrium, whereas this is an unstable equilibrium.